All right, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Call this Town of Vinalhaven Board of Selectmen meeting to order for Tuesday, March 26, 2024. Roll call, Tom Anthony, Don Young, Leslie Dyer, myself, Led Olson is absent, I guess. Elizabeth Bunker and Marjorie Stratton. Approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
All in favor? Approve the minutes from the March 12th, 2024 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Approve and sign treasurer's warrant number 39.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Number 5, communications letter from Wes Reed.
So, at the last meeting, I was here to speak about the code enforcement officer issuing or telling a.
Wes, could you speak up just a little bit, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
At the last meeting, I had filed a complaint. No, because the town manager told me I needed to file a written complaint if I wanted to present something to you. And I, on behalf of myself and the majority of the planning commission, who our job is to oversee the zoning and make proposals to you and then to the town. And the provision of the sale loft building not getting a demolition permit because the code enforcement officer had told them they didn't need one, and anyways, you had instructed the town manager to check with the town attorney. And I left on the boat the next morning to take my wife to Portland, and apparently from the communication I got from the chairman of the planning board, I didn't get it until Sunday, but that next day, Wednesday, which is the regular meeting of the planning board, that a permit had been presented. From an application had been presented, the planning board apparently, perhaps on the advice of the town's attorney, they issued an expedited permit, which there's nothing in the zoning that gives the planning board the right to give an expedited permit. If you apply for a permit, it's supposed to be in 14 days ahead, so I know the general public know about it. And they waived the 30-day period for a demolition permit. And they have there's nothing in the zoning that gives them any authority to do that. And it's almost like, it seems like the town attorney hasn't read our ordinance. And he was trying to rectify, the decision that was made by the code enforcement officer. But, it just seems like you're just adding on. And, I sent a copy of the email that I got from Banner, and, he said, oh, don't worry, this will never happen again. Oh, this is the first time this provision of the ordinance has come forward. And it's a building that, seems like it ought to be scrutinized a little more before you tear it down. But, he's saying, well, don't worry, it'll never happen again. Well, if it happens the first time, why wouldn't it happen again? And why wouldn't the next person that wants to get a permit say, well, I don't want to wait 30 days. Star Hope didn't wait 30 days. It just, I just, it's like the Wild West. I just, our ordinance is very clear that that building should have, applied for a demolition permit, and there should have been a 30-day waiting period. And I I can understand the town attorney thinking that this would solve the problem, but robbing the second bank to pay off the first is really, seems kind of. And I've been on this committee for 35 years, and it's, I see my job as trying to make the zoning as reasonable as possible, not to make it difficult. Most of the changes we had voted on make it easier to use your property here. We increased the height of buildings to 35 feet, so the architecture can match what's here in the village. The fire department didn't have a problem with that. Lot size has been reduced from an acre to a half acre if you have sewer and water. The setback for septic is 100 feet instead of 125, which matches every other municipality in town and the state. So when people come out to design a system for somebody, they don't have to use different rules. But I just don't understand why I'm getting that email from Banner saying, well, don't worry, it won't happen again. And it's like, really? Why? I mean, why wouldn't it happen again? And again, I don't think they have the right to act on a permit they received that day of the meeting. I mean, it is just, our zoning requires that the paperwork be in 10 days ahead so that it can be reviewed at the working meeting a week before the regular meeting. And if they have questions, they can ask for, more information. I mean, it's just, but it's very frustrating.
Tom?
Marjorie, is what he's saying accurate about our ordinance?
Yes, I don't disagree with anything he's saying.
So everything that he's saying about our land use ordinance and the requirements for putting in a permit is accurate.
Yes.
And we're stepping outside of our required ordinance. And let me ask my question.
Oh,
please.
sure.
So we're stepping outside of our specific rules and ordinances for what reason?
I was acting on advice of our attorney because of certain actions that will be addressed later on as a personnel issue. So I can't, there are things that I'm not willing to discuss
No, I understand that.
in a public meeting. And
I guess-
it was primarily in my mind due to some safety concerns, but
My concern, I guess, is
Mhm.
that, okay, from what I've read, it seems that we made a mistake in the beginning. From what I read and what went back and forth, that from what the lawyer said, we as a town, or our town's representative, made a mistake in telling Star of Hope that they did not need a permit.
Well, that's a personnel issue that
No,
we
no.
can't discuss. As
I'm not-
if you recall.
I'm
the
not
last
saying
meeting.
anything about a personnel issue. I'm talking about what the lawyer said. And what I read in the packet that I have in front of me is that we made a mistake. Correct? So the way to fix that is to toss our ordinances out the window. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think that's a smart thing to do.
Tom,
I-
may I interject one thing for a second, because I think there's something missing here. I think the question comes down to, did the code enforcement officer have the ability to condemn a property and not require a permit? And I'm not sure that it's in there that, so if that's the case, then that's an adjustment that needs to be made on the code to specify that action, that doesn't apply anymore. But I think that the intention was, it wasn't spelled out in the code, and therefore we will go back to like we have done in the past, where code enforcement could in fact condemn a property. So if we want to correct it, we need to correct the ordinance.
Right, but
And
I guess I can see that.
I just find it very difficult to discuss because it's a personnel issue and we need to address it in executive session.
So in the meantime, what is going to happen? The building is scheduled to be demolished on the 1st,
Yes, well,
And it's-
yes, the first week of April, I believe.
and so until we address this, we can't decide anything?
I don't think the selectmen should interject into it at all.
Okay.
Just my opinion.
Why?
Eric?
Well, probably the same thing as Tom. I mean, the separate issue, okay, you got your personnel issue. But if it's plain as day, as Wes is saying, the planning board is not following the rules, you got a bigger problem than an employee. You got a board that thinks they can go willy-nilly and do what they want. I mean, I would think at the Board of Selectmen, you could say, okay, we've got a personal issue, that's separate, but we need to say to the planning board, you've got to follow the rules and not invent it as you go.
It's kind of where I was going. You kind of
I'm
set a bad,
following- I
kind of
was
set a
following-
bad precedent.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I was following the advice
understand.
of our attorney.
I understand that. We're just setting a bad precedent.
The attorney probably had good intentions and other communities may have an option for expedited permits, but we do not. So I don't, he may have made this decision very quickly without being aware of our ordinance, as Wes said, but that's not something we have here. So that was his advice, but it's not within our code. It's not within our opportunities. I can read this small section from the revised ordinance that addresses this, if that would be helpful.
We can read it.
Well, we have discussed the ordinance, we approved it, last fall, I believe, wasn't it? Sam,
It's probably a silly question that no one here knows the answer to. There's no Star of Hope represented here. What is their hurry to wreck that building? I mean, I've seen people concerned about some safety issues. Some of those have been addressed. Like, what is their rush? And maybe could the select board send them a letter and just say, this is really a sticky issue and we're waiting on this and waiting on that. Would you please consider holding off on the process? I mean, I know they don't have to listen, but I think they want to save some face with this town. And if the select board said, we think you should just hold off, what is the hurry here? There's some disagreements on how things have shaken out. I mean, I'm not consulting a lawyer. I just think this is silly and crazy and what is their rush? to do anything?
Marjorie,
Well, the Star of Hope Foundation didn't do anything wrong.
No,
They acted appropriately.
They were told that they could demolish this building, so they, in my opinion, probably weren't doing anything wrong, because that's what they were told. And I've seen it a couple times with other situations where there's no synergy between the land use ordinance, the enforcement, and the planning board, and that's where I think there needs to be something that happens, where everyone understands we're all playing on the same field. Because it's really hard to operate under the land use ordinance with clients and personally, when the rules aren't the same for everyone.
Why would the lawyer make a decision if he didn't know what was in the ordinance?
Good question.
It's a personnel issue and I acted on the advice of our attorney. And the personnel issue will be dealt with separately. There are things that I'm just not willing to discuss, which would probably make it much more clear to people, but I'm just not willing to do that. I can't talk about things outside of executive session and without certain people being present. I just can't.
As Eric said, we're not discussing a personnel issue, we're discussing whether or not the ordinance has been followed. My understanding is, I spoke with Carol Martin from the Star of Hope Foundation, she's the acting director, and she said we were happy to apply for a permit. We were told we didn't need to. So if they're willing to apply for a permit, why not ask them to follow the proper procedure and just apply for a permit now and go through the proper procedure? And there'll be a notice to the neighbors within 500 feet. They'll have a pre-planning board meeting, they'll have a planning board meeting, and they'll follow the ordinance. Because if people don't have to follow the ordinance, there's no point in having them. they have to be acted on and used fairly with everyone, regardless of who they are. And that's not happening here, and that's really disturbing to us as the planning commission, because we work really hard to write these ordinances and make them fair for everyone. No special treatment.
I don't disagree with what anybody's saying. It's just, it's difficult to be in a situation where I can't really discuss all of the circumstances. So I'm just asking for some understanding. I don't think the foundation did anything wrong.
No one's
And I
saying-
don't think they should be punished. They shouldn't be punished in having to go back, to go backwards. They've spent a lot of money. I mean, they can speak for themselves, but they've spent money, on legal fees and, structural engineers and architects to come where they are at this point. They have, demolition scheduled. And if they miss that schedule with the people that they have hired, then they get delayed in their process. So I'm not disagreeing that the procedure wasn't followed, but I don't see the point when at the end of the day, the result is going to be the same. And this is just my personal opinion. And I wish that I could discuss things further, but we just can't.
Right.
And I think, I just can't discuss it.
Claire, you had your hand up first.
What I was gonna say about, money and planning and all of that, I've been privy to a couple situations in the last, 5 years where a lot of money and time and effort has been spent when people think they have a permit. And to come to find out the rules weren't followed correctly, and a lot of people lost out and created a huge liability for everyone involved in the situation. So I think we need to have a very clear black and white land use ordinance that everyone understands and everyone follows to a T. Otherwise, we end up in some really nasty situations.
I think we're all in agreement with what's being said.
Yes.
I just have to agree with Marjorie that there's not much we can say about it, with the. Eric?
I mean, so you've got a board that admits and knows they've done wrong, they haven't followed procedure. Why can't you tell that board they need to follow procedure? And that's not anything to do with personnel, that's just saying, plain and simple, guys, here's what it says, you haven't followed procedure, do it.
So if we go back to them, planning board, and say this, what is the end result? What do we have the right to tell the planning board what to do?
My
This Board
advice
of
is to
Selectmen?
not, for the selectmen not to interject into this procedure.
Yeah, I don't know what we can do. And not get
Well, I guess
ourselves,
that wasn't the question. The question was, do we have the right to interject? I know we know what your advice is.
I would have to consult, but I don't think so from my conversations.
Ellen,
The planning board is appointed and works under the select board. They're not an entity unto themselves. They're not voted in. You all appointed them. If they're doing something that's contrary to the ordinance and contrary to the will of this community that voted in the ordinance, I would think it would be your responsibility to correct any problem. If there was a lawsuit, who would they be going to? Not the planning board. It'd be going to the select board. That would be a town issue.
right,
So I don't think that this is, I think this is really important, and it's really important to us on the planning commission. If the ordinance isn't being followed, and we've just spent 2 years redoing this ordinance and making provisions that were voted in
she's
November,
on here.
it's just really
Or should
frustrating.
I just close the conversation?
The advice from the attorney was for the selectmen not to interject themselves into this procedure. I can only tell you what the attorney said.
Okay.
Carol wants to speak, that's up to her. I don't know.
What did you say? Couldn't hear you.
I said that, on advice of the attorney said that the selectmen should not interject into this procedure.
Wes,
I have the hand up before Alan.
Eric?
What? We're not supposed to.
No, you've been talking, I've let you speak. And I noticed Wes had his hand up, so I said, would he like to?
But I thought you were gonna shut it off, and I was ahead of Ellen, so I just wanna make sure I didn't get shut off. What's the problem? Is this a public meeting?
No, no, Eric, I'm not gonna argue. I'm not arguing with you. I said, Wes, that didn't mean I wasn't gonna call on you. Pardon me for not calling on you first. Who would like to speak first?
I mean, Sam mentioned, that building's been there for like almost 150 years. There's been very little done to it for quite a while. But, if it takes another couple months to make it, hold on to our ordinance and have it done properly, I mean, I don't think there's any harm. No, it's like, people, in Banner's brief notes to us, I haven't seen the minutes of the meeting. I'm not sure they're available yet. I asked Elizabeth when I was in earlier that, she said she hadn't received the minutes, but, one of the things that Banner listed as finding a fact is that someone had complained about the building. Well, I mean, who? I mean, it's like there's part of the justification is that this building is dangerous. You go by there's one no trespassing sign. There's no danger, keep away. There's no, yellow tape. It looks the same as it did 5 years ago.
Okay. Eric,
Well, I mean, you're kind of missing the point too about the abutters and other people that might want to have a say. By not going through this process and having it posted, you're denying them the ability to come and speak and have their say.
I just don't, I think we should follow the advice of the attorney, the board selectmen, and not get involved in this because of all the different issues that, I mean.
It undermines all the hard work we've all put in, and that's the sad part.
Ellen?
Just because you get advice from an attorney doesn't mean it's good advice.
Well, Ellen,
Let me just-
I don't-
Could I finish? He said to do an expedited permit. There's no option for an expedited permit. That doesn't
not
exist.
in that ordinance.
Yes, or in how this town functions. It's not in our ordinance. So just because he said to do that doesn't make it so. And just because he says you shouldn't intervene doesn't make it so. I mean, that's why we all are intelligent people coming together, trying to work this out. Not just taking the advice of someone who may not be even familiar with our ordinance or the whole issue here.
I'm not gonna pretend that I know anything about the legal aspects of this. If a lawyer says it's probably not good for us to get involved, maybe we should listen to the lawyer. Are any of us experts in this? I mean, we know how we feel,
I know what the ordinance says.
and we know what the ordinance
What our
reads,
ordinance
and we do agree that the ordinance was not followed correctly.
And that it sets a bad precedent
It-
moving forward. If we do nothing.
I won't disagree with you.
I think we should wait for the executive session and make another, and
I don't,
make a decision at that point when we have both sides, because there may be some conflicting information that we're not aware of.
true.
So we need to get that facts together, and then we make a decision what we do.
The problem that we're facing is that by the time that executive session takes place, the building will be torn down.
Yeah.
And now whether it should be torn down, shouldn't be torn down, that's a moot point, in my opinion.
That isn't what's here.
To me, that's a moot point. Whether it needs to be torn down when they want to tear it down, or it needs to be torn down 3 months from now, that's a moot point. The bigger issue here is, are we following our ordinances as written? And if we're not, are we stepping, wait a minute, let me finish what I'm saying. Are we stepping, are we making it worse, compounding the mistake by bending over backwards to accommodate something. By the planning board doing something that maybe it doesn't really have the authority to do. And not allowing a permit to be expedited when it's not something that's in our ordinance that's allowed.
Roger.
Let me just say, let's leave the planning board action aside. We all agree that that was not correct according to our ordinance. But the Star of Hope Foundation has 2 letters from a duly appointed officer of our town that that building is condemned and can be demolished. So they have those letters in hand, okay? So we will deal with that issue, but we can't deal with it tonight. So
Understood.
that's the bigger issue.
Well, that's an issue. It's definitely an issue.
All right, I'll take another question, and then I think this is really not getting us anywhere. We're just kind of stuck in the mud here.
Is there time for an expedited appeals process?
There
for
again,
The first,
that would have to be Marjorie's question for her.
to address this before the demolition.
I don't know. I'd have to research it.
Only if you offer a solution.
Well, it's not exactly a solution, but you probably know, it's probably in your packet. I know Wes has been away. But there is, feeling with the, Maine Historic Preservation Commission that that building is worthy of being on the National Register. So to just allow it to be knocked down because we want to have a conversation at some point in the future, this is like a terrible test case for our ordinance. It wasn't written for a building necessarily like this. It could have been any kind of a structure, it could have been an old garage, whatever, but it wasn't followed properly. But this is a very important structure from the 1800s.
Ellen, we understand that, but I mean, if it says right here, because the building is owned by the Star of Hope, they have to get a letter informing them of the finding that it could be eligible. But if they don't want to go that route, that's entirely up to them.
True.
Which also
So
says
it
the
says.
property owner has the right to object to listing a property in the National Register.
But it does say that it is eligible,
Correct.
Class A eligible, and that there are funds available to repair structures such as this.
Then
Have you spoken with the people, the board of the Star of Hope?
I've spoken with Carol Martin, Wes and I both spoke with her.
Have you not spoken with just one person? You haven't?
I've spoken with their representative. She's their representative, she's
Right.
their manager.
Is there any willingness on their part?
Excuse me?
Is there any willingness on their part?
Well, Carol said to us
postpone.
that they were willing to get a permit.
No,
They were just told that they didn't need one.
Well,
I
that's-
think they would be happy to get a permit.
I mean, they have a date where they want to demolish this building. Is there any willingness on their part to postpone that date?
I don't know.
Carol, would you please, speak? There you are.
I'm Carol
You
Martin,
had
I'm
your
the
hand up.
Managing Director of the Star of Hope Foundation, and I would like to clarify the chronology that Ellen is referencing. That discussion took place well before us following your attorney's recommendation, which was filing for the permit in the manner we did and receiving unanimous approval by the planning board based on a number of considerations, which I do hope the minutes from that meeting are available, because I think they clearly outline the considerations that the planning board factored into their decision to approve the permit. So, I think it's just important to know that when I said we were willing to apply for a permit, if the town concluded that we should, that conversation preceded our application and its unanimous approval by the planning board. Thank you.
I guess I don't have any more words. Alan?
Yeah. Excuse me. Having no foreknowledge other than this meeting now. It seems to me that once the executive session is concluded, that the permits have already been issued and they've been approved or whatever. Just stress to the planning commission and the planning board and the others trickling down that the importance of following our rules within our own committees. And that should preclude it from ever happening again. But obviously, this bird has flown the coop. And it's time to just re-emphasize to our people that we have ordinances that town has approved, the whole town has voted on and whatnot. And it is their duty to make sure that not only the applicants, but them themselves follow those procedures. And if they want to have in future expedited appointments or expedited procedures, that they accommodate that in their own rules, but until that happens, they gotta follow our rules and leave it at that. I mean, I don't know what more you can say. It's like, well, you know, you drive down a one-way street, you do it wrong, you get a ticket. You do it a second time, then somebody should have really made the stress, the issue that you've got to follow the rules. And that may or may not change anything now, but it will should preclude it from happening in the future. And that's just my personal opinion.
Thank you. Well, I guess we're gonna have to move along because I don't think we've come to any sort of conclusion as to what we can do as the Board of Selectmen. We can't do anything about it. What are we gonna do?
You could vote to ask them to get a permit, to follow the ordinance.
I mean, the Star of Hope is represented at this meeting by Zoom. I mean, someone asked them if they would consider letting us enforce the ordinance the way it was intended.
Carol, I think that question can go right to you.
Star of Hope has followed the procedures as directed by the municipality on 2 occasions. We have very good reasons for moving ahead and expeditiously. And one of them involves the fact that the contractors that we are using, island residents, if they don't do it now, they stated clearly at the planning board meeting that they would not be able to do it until 2025. And I would just like to add, it is the issue from the beginning for us and for the board of directors of the Star of Hope Foundation has been a matter of safety. And we are very concerned. We've received more than one complaint. They're well documented from a number of abutters and others who are concerned about the safety of the building. And we've had that verified by engineers, architects, and qualified building contractors. So for us, the urgency is about the safety issues. And unless the town is willing to indemnify us from any liability related to the safety issues, we are proceeding the first week of April. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
So the Star of Hope has no interest in registering the property with the Historic Preservation Commission.
That is correct, and we've sent them a letter to that effect. We've thanked them for their making us aware, and we've acknowledged that given the accelerated decline as noted in the engineering reports that we've received, we are not interested in the designation.
I don't know what else we can do.
Okay, we're gonna move along. hesitate to even ask this.
Pam,
Speakers from the floor?
Pam, may I make one suggestion before we go? One of the comments was on safety. Can the Star of Hope at least put some tape up and some signs on danger? Because that was one of the criticisms we had. So if we can do that prior to demolition.
I will have it done tomorrow or Thursday at the very latest. Thank you
Thank
for the suggestion.
Al,
Speakers from the floor?
yes,
I
please.
thought this is where this should come in, but I didn't see it anywhere else on the agenda here. As most of you probably know, I went to the ferry committee here and up in the Samoset last week. And I don't think it amounted to the kind of solutions that we were hoping for. I don't think it did any good. There was a lot of good suggestions that came from some of the other island representatives and ourselves. And when you talked about, in the previous discussion, talking about getting inputs from people and whatnot, I had me and Marjorie both in the 2 issues of the wind, because that's how fast the meeting came up. I got 4 comments out of 1,300 people that are on the island. I got 4 comments to share with the board the other day. And I got 3 that I was able to forward by email to the head of that commission. And that's kind of sad. People say that it's such a critical issue with the price of freight and trucks and everything, that only 4 people had something to say. But that was that. The meeting is over. The 10-day cooling off period is over. All we can do now is see how many, if any, of the suggestions that I saw 2 of the directors at the table taking some lengthy notes as comments were coming from the floor, so we can only cross our fingers. Last.
Okay, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. Nope,
No, I'm sorry,
nope,
Alan.
I was getting ready to
sorry that,
transition to another
I
commission.
didn't know you wanted to be on the agenda, so I'm sorry, but thank you
Oh.
for coming tonight.
Oh, thank you. And the other thing, last Thursday was the quarterly or the bi-monthly ferry advisory board meeting. And 2 things came out of that I think are important. Is one, they were talking about the parking lot. And they are investigating getting the parking garage sort of like capping the parking lot, so we'll at least double the number of spaces. But one of the things that Mr. Gary brought up is that he had walked that parking lot with 2 of his employees that morning. And they found 19 cars that were, the registration had expired. And they found 17 cars that had the inspection stickers expired.
That's
And
what
they
they're
found
worried
5
about.
cars that were obviously abandoned because the owners didn't have the money to send them to a recycling center on their own, so they chose that parking lot to put them in. And so the reminder that he wanted to let all the islands, especially us, North Haven and Matinicus, because we're the ones that primarily have the extended permits for the Rockland parking lot, is that when you use the parking lot, when you get when you buy either a day pass, a month pass, every time you put your car into that, you're agreeing by using the apartments as an informed consent to follow their rules. And their rules are that vehicles must be currently registered, currently inspected, and not to be abandoned in their parking lot. And just wanted to say that in May is when the new permits come up for renewal. So if you're planning on renewing it, make sure your vehicles are in compliance. If you're buying a first-time permit today, then they will tell you as you buy the permit that that's what's required of you. But he said, rather than tell everybody to go up to Shorty's and look for their car, he was hoping that we could get the word out to tell people that, especially with the May renewal, that's when the majority of everybody shows up, is on the May 15th renewal date for their new permits. And just make you aware that if your car's not in compliance, make the arrangements don't just walk in and sign your check and walk out. Make sure that you've made the arrangements to get your cars brought up to safety. And that was the only two things that really came out of last week's meeting. The next boat that breaks before any of the other ones that are in the boatyard get fixed. Burgess is gonna go to the next island that needs a boat, and Libby will go to North Haven, and we will have just the Thompson, unless the Thompson is the next boat to break. Then we'll have only the Burgess, and North Haven will have the Libby, unless it's a Botanicus day. Then the North Haven will have to fight with Botanicus and get the boat there.
Aren't the propellers screwed up on the Thompson?
I don't know, there was nothing brought up about the Thompson the other day, if the propellers are screwed up, that happened since last Thursday.
Okay, cause I was told from Brian, there was really low tide in Rockland and they were on that left-hand pan and grounded out and.
That wasn't brought up at the last meeting.
But they can't take it out because they're full over at the yard, I guess.
Oh, the yard is full, that's why the Lee is still tied up in Rockland, because until the Smith comes off the rail, they can't put the Lee up.
Marjorie, would you like to speak?
More good news? Ellen, is there a timeline for, the Margaret Chase Smith to be done?
No,
There isn't.
no, because the parts haven't arrived.
Okay.
So they don't
I just
know
have one
whether
other-
it's manufactured, because they're coming, I think those parts might be coming from Germany.
From the moon?
The other thing I just wanted to let you and everyone know is that I did receive some comments that were sent to the attorney. So, maybe more than the 4 people that
Okay.
you had. I mean, I know that I sent comments in and people sent me emails saying, this is what I sent. So maybe I should have forwarded them to you, but, if you have any.
Well, if they got them by the 22nd,
Yeah.
then it's fine, and it's considered
Yeah.
submitted.
Just wanted to let you know
Okay.
that there were more people that did comment.
Oh, good, thank you. Eric, did you have something you wanted to say? I noticed you had your. No.
I was just
Samantha?
gonna say,
Oh.
maybe this is part of the problem by automating the parking lot instead of having an attendant that would be standing there, giving the rules, looking at the vehicle and say, sorry, sir, you can't come in here until you get your sticker or your registration. So they have created this mess themselves.
Okay,
Big surprise.
They have.
all right, who's next? Did you have something,
I
Samantha?
was gonna say to Alan, I can't believe the low number of responses we got. But every notice that I read basically said, go there in person or submit your letter to da, 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 da. So that's what I did. I should have probably thought with common sense to speak to you being the third. But I think for someone not using that common sense like me, maybe we should have been told, tell Alan your comments if you can't go, because I would have definitely
I
done
had it
that.
in the wind, 'cause
I-
I gave my name and my email.
Okay, can I, just add one thing, Alan? That's great, thank you so much. But the next time, if you know you're gonna have a report, would you call or come in and we'll get it on the agenda so we know? Great,
Can do.
yeah, good, that's great,
I
thank
didn't
you.
even realize it was a selectmen's thing until I opened my email and had the agenda on it, and I said, oh, I got it wrong.
Well, I'm sorry, we
But
didn't get,
I'm sorry, I will put it in there next time.
okay, great, thanks a lot, Alan, I appreciate it. Okay, moving along, committee and departmental reports and appointments. Woodard and Curran.
Does anybody have any questions about this report? I know, Gabe wanted to do an update for the downtown project.
Right.
We did send out a third addendum on the downtown project for the bidders. The bid opening is going to be on April 3rd.
Okay. Is that it on the status report from you?
Unless you have any questions about,
Guys
Right.
have anything?
No.
All right, B downtown project, Gabe?
Sorry, my dog just chose this time to start barking. So just real quick, I wanted to follow up one thing that we didn't talk about last time because we were still just working through some logistics of it, is that there's an opportunity to have an additional parking spot on Main Street. It would require getting an additional easement. And it would also require changing the parking ordinance. So I'm gonna just screen share real quick where this spot is. And what we'd really like is just to have confirmation from you all if you would like us to proceed with adding this spot. We figured that it was a opportunity to, one spot isn't a lot, but we know parking is kind of at a premium. So let me show you real quick what it looks like. And if you have any questions, I can address those. Oops, sorry. I'm going to, my apologies here. I have too many screens up at one time. Okay, let me find the best image to show you here. Okay. Again, apologies for everyone's being so patient and I am being slow. Oh boy. Okay, hang on just one moment. Technical difficulties. Okay, sorry here. Like, I'm really sorry, everyone. Okay, here we go. All right. Yeah, can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay,
Can you
great.
bring it up a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Let me try to zoom in here. I apologize. Okay, let me.
There, thank you.
Is that working? Okay.
Yep.
So this is Clamshell Alley here. I don't know if people can see my little cursor. And
Yes.
so right now in the parking ordinance, there's no parking along this area here, which is along the Star of Hope's property on Clamshell Alley. This is the Victoria Olson property, Dot and Millie's here. So technically there is no legal parking here right now. People do park there, but that's not permitted in the parking ordinance. So if we were to add this one parking spot, which the engineers determined after looking at a couple of different possible designs that this was the only way to safely add parking here is to add this one additional spot. So if we do that, the sight lines are okay. They don't perceive anything to be dangerous. We know that safety is the priority of this project. The Star of Hope has agreed to issuing us an easement as long as the select board is amenable. We've had conversations with the abutter here, Victoria Olson, who has a right-of-way currently for her driveway here. We've done some conversations with her. She's confident through images that we've shared that this will not impact her driveway, and she's fine with us proceeding. So the question is, again, I'm so sorry that business being bad. The question is, would you like us to proceed with this additional spot? And that would mean we move forward with putting together the easement and requesting that easement of Star of Hope.
Sure.
I think
Makes sense to me.
the consensus of the board is yes to proceed. Is that all you need, is just a consensus? Do you
Yeah,
have to
no,
make
that's
any-
good. We just wanted to confirm that, and we appreciate that. Thank you. I had one other question, or really just a quick update. Oh, I'm so sorry. This is not not how I envision this going. So we need to move forward with the NBRC portion of the project, which is the part of the project that includes the relocation of the water district office. And as part of that, what we'd like to bring back to this select board, knowing that there's new members now who were not part of that conversation prior. So in the next couple of meetings, I'm hoping to share with you the next steps for that process. There's a public process that we need to talk about, and there's a letter of interest that the select board would need to sign. The water district also needs to sign that letter, excuse me, not a letter of interest, a letter of intent. The water district also needs to sign that. So Margie and I will be meeting with Pam and the rest of the district at their next meeting on April 30th. So I just wanted to put that out there and let you know we will be sharing some information in your packet, and then I will be present to talk about, and Margie and I can talk about what the next steps are. But that's all I wanted to share. I don't know if anyone had any questions at this point about that.
No question.
All set?
Great. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Gabe.
Thank you, Gabe. C, Main Islands Coalition, appoint Gabe McPhail as alternate. Could I have a motion to appoint Gabe McPhail as the alternate to the Main Islands Coalition?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, Gabe.
Lucky you.
Something else for you to do. Okay. D, Net Factory Site Reuse Committee, resignation and update.
That may be on the back of Gabe's.
Oh, on the back of that. Oh, yep. Patience trainer has, decided that she was gonna step down from that committee.
Patient.
Is there any update, Gabe, to this?
Eric and I are here.
Oh, I'm
We're
sorry.
gonna try to-
I
we're
didn't-
gonna
I didn't
relieve
realize.
Gabe. Yeah, we're gonna try to relieve Gabe a little bit.
Okay, great, go ahead.
But yeah, Eric and I are here on behalf of the Net Factory Site Reuse Committee. Don's also a member, but he kind of is letting us take over this time. Gabe's gonna put up a few slides. We'll try to keep it quick. But just, we're here for our update. So, we formed, the next slide that she puts will have all the committee members, if you're interested, who else is on it. But the purpose of the committee, it was formed, you know this, but maybe the community doesn't know, to investigate options and develop a long-term plan to redevelop the Net Factory site. And just reminding anyone that doesn't know, that the site is a 1 acre property that belongs to the town, and as Gabe just mentioned, the water district still currently owners of that property. But part of the downtown project, as Gabe just mentioned, is to provide a new location for the water district to free up the whole site for development. So that's the plan. It just, we're waiting for that to actually happen, as you know. And our job, the committee's job, is to learn as much as we can about the site. We've been doing that. We'll get to that in just a second. And then gauge the community's interests regarding the site so that we can make an informed recommendation to you all. I think by next December, about the potential future use of the site. We'll review recommendations. And so why we're here tonight is just to give you a quick update on what we've done so far. We do have a request for you for some action that the committee wants to take. We'll get to that, and to answer any questions or if you have any feedback for us now. So Gabe's gonna advance it, and Eric's just gonna run down what we've done so far. And the committee members are on the side, the right side. Other members. Your turn. If you can read that.
I'll let Pam get.
Okay.
What?
Let you get out from behind.
Oh, okay, thank you. I just couldn't read the slide.
In January, we did research, we did reading the existing reports, downtown master plan, pages, public works facility report, the 2014 structural analysis. We came up with questions we need to answer about this site, which of course one is how contaminated that site is, and what we can do to remedy it, and will it affect any of the uses that we're proposing. February, we talked about what we needed to answer questions, and that's what I just said. So we'll skip that part. In March, we discussed I'd timeline for between now and December, when we'll have our recommendations to you. Because we are gonna take a break in the summer when things get, busy. And started to plan community outreach, wind articles, and engaging with different people from different parts of the community, which I've sort of done it now, you know, when they hear you're on the community, on that committee, then people kind of give you what they're thinking, which is good.
Yeah,
And I think so far the meetings have gone good. I think we have a, you know, a good cross-section of people, and it's good to have Gabe leading the discussion.
Definitely. So, and what Eric was speaking about, we have just these huge, Google, documents where we're putting questions and everyone can chime in, and then we're finding sectors of the town and like, oh, if we want to talk to the library, who are the people on the library board and people at daycare, like, we just have this massive, it's all good stuff. And so we should be talking to lots and lots of people, probably a lot of you in this room, with all that work you've done. So what's coming up next in April? It's right up there. We're gonna start sharing information about the site. Whatever we've learned, we want the community to start learning about. Put it in the wind and let the community know they can contact us. We're gonna get our names up there, like Eric said. So if they have information for us or questions, we want to be very transparent. We'll finalize our community engagement strategies, kind of decide, are we talking to people, doing surveys, meetings, like we're probably gonna do all sorts of things, but just make a game plan. And start engaging with the community by late April, early May. And the other thing we want to do is have the town apply for a DEP Brownsfield site assessment grant. And I think, says Gabe, Marjorie, and Pam, you've been maybe working on this, and Gabe could just hop in to give you guys more info on that, but you probably know more about it than even I do. But basically it's a technical assistance grant that will allow the DEP to come out and do a level 1 and 2 environmental assessment of the site. So then we'll know if the site's contaminated, what needs to do to clean it up. And, it'll also, I'm trying to read notes and remember what we talked about. It could even like help fund initial action on the plan. So it's just really all good stuff. And it'll give us information so we can decide what type of development, is even feasible. If remediation to the site is required, there's even additional grants, that would enable us to clean up the site and exactly pay for future prep work, and engineering. So we're gonna be asking you all to, make some action on that if you recommend Gabe to go forward with that. I think it sounds like a no-brainer to me, but you probably all know more than I do. After that, in May and June, we'll just continue with community engagement. And, yeah, definitely want the action will be your consent to move forward with the Brownsfield site assessment grant. And see if you guys have any questions, concerns, or feedback about any of that. So, the very last slide.
Okay, and after, you know, some of the discussions we've had tonight, you know, learning more and taking time, to make sure that we're listening to everyone and we're moving along, you know, in a constructive way, but not looking like we're speeding it through, or not like we're having a meeting and, you know, we've already decided the outcome, we're just making it look good. So we want to know where people can find us, go to the various committees and boards, do it, or just go to the committee boards and click on that factory site reuse committee. You'll see a link that gets you to a running document of all our meeting notes, and there's a list of committee members and the research reports we've been using in our process. And if you try to get me by email, you'll never get me, so call me or see me in person.
please.
And thank you.
Gabe, you have anything to add to the, grant?
I would
Brownsfield.
just, Yeah, I would just say, I mean, the DEP Brownfield Site Assessment Grant is a technical assistance grant, so it's not a monetary grant that we get. We get technical assistance from DEP to do the level 1 and level 2 environmental assessments. And if things progress, you know, there is the additional EPA assistance, as Sam mentioned, for remediation. So there's really, it's really only time that we invest. There's no match or anything. We would like to submit the application as soon as possible, so we get underway with the process, so we could be doing these assessments over the summer and have some information for the committee to work with in September as they move forward with developing their recommendations. So if the town is amenable, you know, I've spoken with Marjorie, I've spoken with Pam, we've pulled together some information. I've worked with Woodard and Curran to fill in some missing gaps and talk with their brownfields person there. So I feel confident in the application, and then I have a call set up to talk with the DEP Brownfields Program Director next week. So I feel confident about it, and if the town is amenable, I think that's the best course of action to do the environmental site assessment.
Okay, so I should make a motion
I think so.
to accept, to have Gabe go ahead and talk to, apply for the Brownsfield.
So move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
We really don't have a choice.
Well,
Can't do anything without the assessment.
Did you all have any other questions for us or anything?
no, you guys are doing great,
Yeah.
one step at a time. But it's a good,
Sounds-
nice committee.
Sounds like you made a-
school kids are involved too,
that's Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that actually, yeah, we had a few more school kids, some of them kind of, I think, it got a little real of the commitment, and but we have two that are really interested in
They did a good
engaging
job.
in the conversation, and
That's
it's really good.
Yeah,
And I think we'll talk to school kids as the process goes on, just having some on the committee is really great.
yeah, that's good. No,
Yeah,
good job,
thank
thank you. Old business, okay, deputy housing. These guys must be ready by now.
They've probably been ready.
Can I start this one off then? Okay.
Yeah, as long as,
Kurt will jump in
Yeah.
if he has.
there he is.
Just to make it clear where we are today is it's real apparent that without housing, we don't have a second officer out here. So we need it, and it's quite apparent to me, and I'm not sure about the rest of the committee, is that the rentals are just about impossible to get. And people who are renting aren't renting year round for the most part. So I would propose tonight that we call a special town meeting to get authorization to spend up to 500,000 if we have to get housing for deputies out here. Otherwise, we're gonna miss a really good guy. And I know it's gonna take some time, even if we have the meeting right away and get authorization. And I know that there are some houses coming up that would be appropriate. And I also know that, some housing that's available between now until the end of, to the middle of June, so we have a little bit of time with that. But if we really want police and good police out here with a long-term commitment, we need to move. We can't just sit here. So I'd like to propose tonight that we call for a town meeting and and seek authorization for funding for deputy housing or for town housing to be used as we need it.
So where is the, there's a rental available until when, June?
Yeah, my kids have one that they've agreed to let us rent that until such time that, they come up in mid-June.
What happened to the cabin?
We're not gonna be renting them long term anymore.
Oh, okay.
Is that a motion?
I don't. I don't think
I
we said
think
anything
I
yet.
made a motion without saying it was a motion.
So that's the motion is
Okay.
to whatever, how did you word it there?
Draft a warrant for a special town meeting to borrow up to 500,000 for the purchase of deputy housing.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? I think it needs to be discussed whether it passes or not. Are you not, did you vote? You're all set? Nay,
Are you a
are
nay?
you, are you a nay?
Okay.
Okay,
So what was the vote? I'm sorry.
3-1. Kurt,
So,
did you, oh, I'm sorry. Kurt, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I don't have too much. I think you've heard everything we had the last meeting, just basically to echo a couple of what Don said. Um, obviously, it's up to the voters. You've only just moved it along to let the voters decide. I mean, you can use the housing for other things, depending on if the voters approve it. I mean, it could be used for other providers, it's not necessarily maybe just a deputy's housing. So, and just to echo what Don said, I mean, we do have the second applicant who is ready to start. This was just the only stumbling block, if you will, for the housing piece. So, sounds like we do have maybe one or two options to have the applicant come on board and get acclimated with the community, get to know people before the busy months start. So, but I was here generally too, if in case anybody had any other questions about the housing or anything like that.
So assuming that we have the rental at least until the middle of June, when would he be coming out, right? Like in the next week or?
Well, he would have to do some field training, not to learn the job, but just to learn county policies and whatnot that are different from other departments in Maine. So he'll be looking at doing about 4 weeks of training. Having the housing in place, he could potentially go back and forth on the ferry and also live on the island while he's completing that 4 weeks of training. So that would be the goal. And I'm sure some of the training could be completed online and whatnot. So he wouldn't necessarily have to leave the island every day, but the thought was he would return on the last boat. So he would be living on the island during that 4 weeks.
Okay.
So this gentleman is ready to jump ship, knowing he only has housing until mid-June.
Yes, I mean, we've had general discussions along the way. When we are optimistic that more housing, other leads will come open as the season continues, depending on what the voters do at the town meeting. Obviously, that's up to them. So we are optimistic, and there are a couple options right now, but there is one definite option. But I mean, we have had those discussions with the applicant.
Margaret.
So what would be the date of this special town meeting?
How soon can we do it?
You have to have, well, I have to bring the special town meeting warrant back to you for signatures, but in order to draft that, I need a date, and then it has to be posted for 7 days.
I'm not gonna be here and
I think we do it as soon as we
April.
possibly can, just so that so we all have an understanding what's in front of us.
well, I do feel that we need to bring it to the town to
Oh, definitely.
vote on. If they don't
Definitely.
want it, then
Yeah,
they'll vote it down. But I do think it's important that we bring it to the vote,
100%.
people, so that they can decide what they think is right or wrong. It's not up to me to make that decision. But I will be gone for a couple of weeks in April, so
You can
that
zoom
might
in.
not matter.
You can zoom in.
So with all you said, Marjorie, what are you looking at for a date?
Well, I need to bring the warrant back to the selectmen probably on the 9th. That's our next meeting for signatures. But I do need a date for the meeting. Would that
Rather-
be April 23rd, or I'm asking, I need to put a date on it.
Margie, would it be possible for preparing the warrant and we could come in and sign it? Rather than wait for the next meeting to do that, it's 2 weeks out.
I can check. my memory is that, warrant for a town meeting has to be signed at a,
So I was thinking sign it up.
Mhm,
has to be signed at a public meeting.
right. If that's, so be it, that's what it is.
So we need to set a date.
Or after,
A week from the next meeting, I guess if we can,
What was it?
a week from the next meeting possibly.
But it would have to be posted for 7 days, which so it wouldn't be posted until the 10th, so the earliest you could have it would be the 17th.
Okay, we'll take what we can get, I think.
I just need.
I'm not gonna be here, and I'm not gonna promise that I can Zoom. In, so,
You can't zoom from the beach?
now who said anything about a beach?
so you
Um,
need a motion, Marge?
Are you saying, well, I'm
No.
not hearing anything, as far as a date,
A
so
date.
you're gonna sign it on the 9th. And you want the special town meeting to be on the 18th?
Tiny count, I can't really see this.
Get out of there. Okay, so the 10th it would be ready to post, and then it would be 7 days out from that, so it'd be the 17th. I'll be home on the 25th.
You have to be there for Leslie and co-chair.
For the town meeting? That would be, Jeff,
You don't have to be there.
no,
No.
Jeff would, Aronson would be
Yeah,
the,
okay.
I assume, I can't speak for him.
Right.
Someone will be the moderator.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't really need
Okay.
it's not like a.
We'll
select board
keep you on
meeting.
the phone, keep you posted.
Okay, so, we say the 17th?
Well, I'd like to have a little bit of, maybe one day.
Buffer.
Yeah,
18th.
one day buffer. The 18th, is that your decision?
I recommend the 18th.
Second.
At 5?
What's that?
That's the next net your meeting.
And that's here.
19th?
But the Met Factory doesn't start until what, 5:15?
5:15 is why.
Dawn, I don't, I understand the fact that you want this to, to expedite it, but let's try to accommodate some of the public that might be interested in coming. So what else is up for after that,
But
for
you
the
do
next
know you
week?
have a captive audience. If you did it during the committee meeting, you at least have the committee members.
That's right.
What's the next week got going?
So.
The 23rd would be your
23rd is our selectmen meeting.
23rd?
At the selectmen's meeting? We did one for the ordinance, so
Yeah, we just do the special time meeting first and then move into a regular.
Okay,
that
23rd.
makes sense.
Okay, the other question I have is about the contract. Is Kurt still on?
Sure is. Hang on, let me pull him back up. There he is.
Kurt, so is the interim county, what is it, county?
Commissioner?
Is he,
Administrator?
county administrator, I'm sorry. Is he going to be sending a draft contract, and is he waiting for the amendments that we need for the housing paragraphs? So there's a couple of questions in there, but.
Yes, we just did update the contract today. And we
Mhm.
should be able to get it out to Vinalhaven and North Haven soon. And like I
Okay.
said, very, very few changes, just some numerical changes, nothing like in the language, I don't believe, but I did have a question, more of a procedural question. I know, Marjorie, you had mentioned in the short term for the lease agreement, for instance, if this housing town meeting vote gets turned down, which it could, what procedurally could do you need to do as far as to act if we did find a lease somewhere in town? I know you had mentioned you thought there's funding in the budget for temporary housing, we could have something 6 and 9 months, or if we did find something, can you act on the direction of the board to go ahead and do a lease agreement? If we find something that's suitable that the town and county agree on. To Don's point, we do have 1 or 2 options to get the applicant out there much sooner. And what do we have to do to make that happen? Would that be a vote from the board to authorize you to enter into a lease agreement, or have you already basically have the authority to do that?
I don't have the authority, only the selectmen can approve a lease. And there is money in the budget through June 30th. And then towards the end of June, we'll be voting at town meeting on a new budget, which would start in July. So I think anything that happens before June 30th, there's funding in the budget because we haven't expended all that we put in there to fund housing for deputies. We counted on 2 deputies, for this year. So there's money in there that we haven't expended.
So
But
would
the
that
other-
require an additional vote tonight by the board?
Well, the only thing that they would have to approve is if we had a new lease, if there was some new lease that was proposed.
Right, what I'm saying is why wait, just get the authority to do it, and then when one comes open, you could already be ready to sign it.
Basically giving you a blank check to.
What's that?
I guess that's up to the board to give me
I
that
guess-
authority, but I don't think, I think that it's something.
A
that's
lease
voted.
agreement that's similar to the one that you currently have.
I believe that in an article at town meeting, we vote that only the selectmen can authorize long-term agreements, but I would have to check that.
So we really couldn't have the deputies start
Yeah.
until after the
I'm
town
not,
meeting.
I guess I'm not really understanding your question. I have money in the budget for deputy housing that we can spend. I
get it. He wants approval now if a rent came up instead of having to wait longer for you to approve it.
Basically, what he's saying is, can you, if
What's your maximum,
a
like?
rental comes up and the town has to lease it for a certain period of time,
Mhm.
can you enter into that lease on the town's behalf?
No.
Or does it have to come back to the select board to approve the lease? Or can the select board give you authorization to enter into that agreement without it actually ever coming back? That's where the
I
question
think we
is.
should just wait and see.
Yeah, I don't think, it's hard to approve something when we don't have the actual.
Is there some lease coming
So-
before us? I don't know of
No.
any, there's
We
no.
have 1 or 2 options right now on the table that
Well, I
might
think
come
we
to you next week.
I think
So
we
I
should
guess we could
wait and
just wait.
see what
May I go
comes forward.
with the house that I'm looking at? Basically, obviously, they're gonna wanna rent, but they're not looking at it for a lease, they're just an agreement that we will pay X for the housing, that's all. And that's negotiable.
So they're not looking to sign it?
No,
to
not
sign
looking
lease.
not
So
looking
there's
for a
there
lease
won't be a lease
for
there.
for 2.5 months, no.
I'm confused. If we can pay, we've got money to pay the rent.
Yeah, well, I don't need a
whatever,
lease, I'm telling you.
But you're talking about something coming, Kurt, are you talking about something coming up in the future, not this?
Well, both, one in the short term for the 4 to 8 weeks until town meeting. What to do then? Is Marjorie authorized to do an agreement?
Authorized expenditure. Yeah.
When there's funding already in place.
I think it would have to come back to the board.
Well, we don't even know what you're talking about, first of all, Dawn. We don't have no idea what you're talking about as far as the amount of this rent or anything. I find it hard to even discuss it if we don't know anything.
Well, I was thinking that we'd probably do the same lease, the same agreement on for a full house, that 1,200 we pay for the current apartment and plus utilities. Let's go with the same thing for the full house.
Al,
It sounds to me like Kurt's question is, Don's talking about a rent, not a lease. from now
Right.
Until the middle of June.
That's exactly.
I think what Kurt's asking is, if somebody comes to you in May, because you've got the ads in the wind asking for.
correct.
Yep.
If somebody comes in and says, I'm willing to sign a 1-year lease, I think that's what he means by.
Well, then we would bring it to the board and we would either sign it or not. I
I
mean,
think that's what.
I think
I think that's what Kurt was
probably-
getting at.
how it would work.
At least that was my interpretation of his question, if I'm wrong.
Well, I think-
So,
Does that cover it, basically?
so I have the contract that we have with Knox County. And we have funding in the budget. I guess what I need from the selectmen is a motion to say we authorize the town manager to expend budgeted deputy housing funds up to a certain amount each month until the end of June. Because the contract only says that, that we pay for the apartment, but then any second housing opportunity is only $1,000 a month subsidy. So I feel like I would need something from you that just authorizes me to spend already appropriated funds that are in the budget up to the $1,200 a month, plus utilities.
But it says, but in the contract, it's $1,000 a month for the second.
It's been $1,000 a month for the second.
Right.
And that's what needs to be amended in our new contract. I mean, this contract actually expired at the end of
It's not even a
December.
contract.
But still, I feel like I have to honor what's in here and also what's voted by the people of the town.
Right.
Right.
So,
I guess my point has already been approved by voters.
Correct.
$1,000.
I just want to be sure that I can spend up to $1,200 a month for the
If that's
second.
the problem, we can go to 1,000, be done with that. I'm just trying to get this done, that's all.
I feel like I'm not getting enough detail here, but yeah, okay, so the motion is we would give the town manager authority to expend 1,200? What do you,
I think 12 was the number I mentioned to them, but will be negotiable if we have to.
It says 1,000 in the contract. I think we should go with what the contract says.
1,000?
Yep.
Plus utilities?
Yep.
For the second deputy. Do I have to add that in there? I don't even know what I said
I
now.
do think in the new contract, I mean, this has said $1,000 a month forever. I mean, I think it said that it had that amount back in, when I was manager previously. So in terms of renegotiating a contract, I think those amounts do need to be increased based on market, the current market.
But for now, can we just,
Yeah,
for the next
yeah,
few,
I'm just
whatever,
saying,
okay.
when I get the draft contract, I can put some So should we talk about that discussion or just wait until I get the draft contract? I mean, what should it be in terms of market?
I think it's premature until we get the contract.
Okay,
Yeah,
All right.
I don't,
Yep.
yeah.
okay.
you know.
But in the meantime, if we have to go with 1,000, I'd like the 12, but 1,000 is fine.
Okay.
So my motion is what I just said. Do I have a second?
Okay. Yes.
Second.
Any more questions? All in favor? Okey dokey. Moving along.
Phew.
Kurt, how, are you all set now? Do you think, is that satisfactory?
Yes, I just, what we're gonna do in short term, that was basically what it amounted to. What we
Yeah.
doing up until the end of June, so you've,
Okay,
yes, you've helped out a lot with that, so
okay, awesome.
thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being patient and waiting the whole,
And
So
again,
long.
this is to mid-June, not to the end of June, I'm talking. It's to mid-June on the apartment.
yeah. Okay.
Like an extra bedroom. I have to use.
8B, parking ordinance.
This is just the red line version with the couple of typos that I found.
Yeah.
And Millie's correction of road crew foreman to road commissioner.
Right.
I make a motion that we accept the amended Vinalhaven parking ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
I should read it first, I guess, in detail, but
We just read it with Millie.
C, Historical Society lease. I do not. Do you have that?
I should,
What the heck is it? Oh. There it is.
and I have a clean one. I think this is just Marjorie's signature, so it's okay.
Okay.
This has the exact same one from the draft presented, except with the dates.
Oh, okay.
changed.
Pam,
Yes.
on this pack thing, before we go ahead and final thing, you want to go in and put about wrong way packing on Main Street or?
Well, we
This would
talked
be-
to the, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
I don't know when it was, the deputy, we talked to him and he said he looked and he couldn't find
find anything.
There's
anything.
nothing in here.
But he
No,
couldn't
no, no,
find
he
any
couldn't-
law.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
said
Do we
you
wanna
wanna
put it
put it in
In the
our
ordinance,
ordinance,
yeah.
but he couldn't find anything in the traffic laws, is that what you would call
Nothing in
them?
main traffic law.
Yeah,
But does it have to be?
We need to amend the ordinance anyway in order to add in order to add the parking spot for the gate.
Um,
Just a thought.
yeah, well, if she's gonna come back with,
But I agree with you on that. I don't like that reverse going the wrong way packing either, and a lot of people
I
do
think
it.
it's dangerous.
It is.
It is, especially with headlights at night.
Well, that is.
That is against the
That is
the
illegal.
law, that is. But to pull across traffic and park the wrong way
Guilty.
is not a traffic violation. It should
Per
be
se,
because it's dangerous.
I mean, if people park
If
right
they wanna
now,
put it in
they
here.
can't see what's coming up.
Right,
Where if you park the right way, you can look in your rearview mirror. I mean, I
Yeah.
almost got creamed years ago with bone gates there when someone pulled it,
yeah,
you know,
it is dangerous.
I don't see why.
Every
it's-
day, bang.
Yeah, I almost got
Dog.
run into the other day down by the bank when somebody came zipping across the road to pull in by the fire hydrant. It's like, what the heck?
That is in here, you can't park
Yeah,
on fire
like
hydrant.
turn.
They do.
Good job, Lizzie.
I don't think it.
Yeah.
Well, let's think about adding that when it comes back, okay? Cause it'll have to go through town meeting again.
Instead of one tire chasing across there was four.
no, this doesn't have to
That's-
be at town meeting.
You can vote on.
I
it.
mean, when Gabe comes back with
Oh,
the
with the-
change of the parking,
The
is that,
parking
yeah.
space, the
We
added
have
parking
to change,
space.
change the parking ordinance
Mhm.
for
For
that
that
spot.
particular spot. So,
So we can do those amendments at the same time.
Okay.
if you can make a note so we remember.
What are we supposed to remember?
Wait, where? are we?
I'm confused. Don't worry, Marjorie. we're
You're not the
almost
only
done.
one.
Well, not really, but we're close. Alrighty, so are we all set? We kind of got waylaid. Historical Society lease, please.
I don't think
Who sent-
I have
Just
sent it
the-
to the historical study. I didn't hear that they
They're all set
requested
with
any
it?
changes, so if you authorize Marjorie to sign.
Okay. I make a motion that we authorize Marjorie Stratton, Town Manager, to sign the lease, to the Vinalhaven Historical Society.
So moved.
All in favor? Oh, second,
Second.
all in favor?
Saying. I'm on the board. Industry Historical Society.
It's such an active board, I didn't even know.
You got it, yeah.
Moving on to 9, new business. Selectmen's goals. Right now, my goal is to finish this meeting.
I missed the floor part, I guess.
Is that your stomach? This is-
Got an issue.
What did you say, Evan?
I missed the open floor, I guess.
Oh, speakers from the floor.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll go back to, if it's okay with everybody, we'll go back to speakers from the floor so you can speak. Well, it was a little hectic there for a minute.
yeah, well, I hope I haven't upset anybody here, that's what I want to mention first. But Alan informed me about the oil truck. Like if they can't get over, like before the end of the day, the tariff, then they can get on the 4th trip. And I was told that the town decided to do away with that.
Right, the tariff.
Yes, Marjorie, that
That's
was,
the 35-foot
that's
truck thing?
that transferable fish plant priority. When that said that the town has it until.
Right,
I'll use
everybody thought that it
today.
didn't
I'll
use,
use
it never
today.
got used.
If you don't want to use it on Thursday, you had till today at 3:15, at 2:45 to cancel. And then he had from 2:45 to 3:15 to buy it. Well, Friday morning. And then the
So-
return was only available for an oil truck that had been sitting in line. Depending on the season, it would be the 4th trip, which would be noon in the winter and 1 in the summer. And then if they were in line and the traffic was so that they couldn't get on the 1 o'clock or the noon boat,
Mhm.
they'd have to move up to the next boat.
So
Stay
what
with
are
their
we,
vehicle.
so what are we doing then?
Well, that's the priority that when we went over the list of priorities, that we said we could get rid of because it was just so
Mhm.
confusing and it's
Mhm.
not even
Nobody ever used
used,
it.
that when the town needs a priority, they don't have to have that one written to the tariff, they just do
Right.
what they've been doing for the
I know,
last
so how do-
25
what do we
years,
do
sending
with
a letter that says, we need to send the ambulance over for repairs at 8:45 on Tuesday, and it should be back
Right.
on 1 o'clock boat on Wednesday. So we decided that
Right,
when we were when all the towns had to review their priorities, that's the one that said we didn't need, we could just get rid of,
mm-hmm,
and that's what we did.
I know, so
And
what
then
do we
when
do
And
now?
then when our board got together, we went over the list of changes,
Mm-hmm,
and we all agreed on it, and that's when we sent the recommendation back to the selectmen that priority be eliminated.
right,
And so that's where and how that.
aren't you on that committee?
yeah, and I
Oh.
wasn't even told
Oh.
about it. I'm like, oh, we just had a meeting and
Uh-huh,
that discussion never come up. I was a little discouraged for that.
well, what
But
is it?
there is a thing in the tariff
Mhm.
that from November 1st to April 30th, that the 430 and the second 430 truck reserve is only available for an oil company to use.
Mhm.
So they have from November 1st till April 30th, 7 days a week, that 430 reservation or 315 reservation is available. And the only person that can buy it until 30 days out is an oil truck.
Mhm.
Then if Bunga wants it, they have to wait until today being the if they want the 26th of April, if an oil company hasn't bought it by today, they can. But yesterday, the only person that could buy the 26th of April is an oil company.
But what do we do now? I mean, the
What-
selectmen have already voted.
That's right, no,
Oh, I just wanna keep it as the fourth trip from the mainland.
you had to be in line at the fourth trip. And not.
Oh, yeah,
And not,
exactly.
but that's never happens.
Well, I use that.
And that's why it was voted to be eliminated. The ferry service is cleaning up the tariff. And they asked all the towns to review their priorities, this is the reservations that we've gotta have. And that's what we did.
Heating homes isn't an issue and
No, it's.
whatever.
The
Okay,
prime
so
heating
what can,
system runs until,
what can we do? about
May
it?
1st.
Yeah,
And you're the only one, you and Jacob and Vinyl are the only ones that can use that 430 truck reserve,
yeah, I don't use I just call and get a line number like everybody else.
right? But if there's an issue about getting home, then you're the only one that can have that 430 reserve. So why put in the tariff, they have to sit there all afternoon in order to use the 430 reserve? It's already there.
So does he have to get the reservation 15, at least 15 minutes before the boat sails?
You can't buy it after 2 hours, within
2 hours,
yeah.
okay, couldn't
So
remember
by-
what it was.
So if by 1:15
I
or
wouldn't want one.
2:30, he knows that he needs that reservation, he can walk in and it's still available because he didn't buy it.
Yeah, but this is
45 days
what
ago.
we're worried about getting rid of, right?
No, that's,
That's been gotten rid of. That's done. That sit in line all afternoon and wait for the reserve if you need it. And now you either just sit in line because you want to, or you buy the reservation 45 days out and use it.
Yeah. Well, that's my problem. I don't do the 45-day out thing and just,
But the oil companies have in the tariff, the second 10:30 truck reservation, 7 days a week. And the second 4:30 truck reservation, 7 days a week, are for the oil dealers.
so you have an automatic
So you have a
reservation.
Reservation already there. All you have to do is decide that you wanna use the reservation at 10:30 instead of waking up at 5 to get a line number. And hoping that you're
I guess
called
I'm
early
missing
enough to have a
something
space.
in the tariff. I don't know what it is, I guess.
Well, no, that's when the new tariff comes out, it's not gonna be there. It's there now, but when the new tariff is published, it's not.
So then what?
Okay, so now I'm.
Then I don't,
I've told
there's no reservation. That's my problem.
There is at 10:30.
Right now,
Well, it always will be.
well, I thought you said they're eliminated.
No, they
Selectmen
eliminated,
already acted on it.
they eliminated that,
I don't know,
that
and I don't,
priority.
does
that
he
you
want,
get
what's he want
priority
us
at
to
4:30.
do?
You don't
I
need the
know,
priority at
but I
4:30. You're the
just
only
have a
one that can buy that
question.
reservation.
So, Evan, I'm confused.
I
So
can tell
what
you.
exactly is your question to us?
Well, from what Alan was telling me in an email, I was concerned about is that the fourth trip wasn't gonna be in the new tariff.
But the reservation is.
But the reservation is there.
Where's that reservation part? I guess.
It was in the reservations, not the priorities. You asked me about that priority.
Yeah,
And I referenced that paragraph, and I said, when the new tariff comes out, that line is gonna be gone.
okay.
But if we're being replaced by the reservation,
No, because the reservations are another chapter, and the reservation already says.
So
from April
clearly,
30th,
So it would
from-
redundant.
are you covered, I guess?
so
Yeah,
clearly
that's what I
that
wanna know for sure.
we've already, I mean, we voted on that
While ago.
whenever,
Well, the understanding was it wasn't being used.
right?
Yeah.
And that was a while
by
ago
the
that
town or
we
nobody-
came
anybody
to the
else,
board.
what I assume.
So,
the only
So
one-
basically, instead of getting the noon or the one, it'd be the 4:30 or the 3:15, depending on the.
No. The way that priority read, and that was the confusing part of the priority, and that was why it was taken out of the book, because it was not being used. The town doesn't go at 7, and when they do go at 7, if something comes up and they need the 7, they send in a letter. And it says, we wanna go at 7. we wanna go at 8:45. We wanna go at 1 in the afternoon. And they don't need a separate line in the tariff that says the town goes any day of the week at 7. Because it wasn't being used. And the consensus with the office here is, if they needed something, rather than bump people off the boat that needs all the medical trips and whatnot, that they would use the 8:45. 8:45 comes over, all the people that had to get to Portland left at 7. They would go on the 8:45, like the trash, and like the cardboard, like the recycling, and like the septic, and everything else, they said, we'll go at 8:45. We won't be, that would be minimal impact on the general public on the island, of going at 8:45 versus 7. So by that, in that sense, we weren't using that 7 o'clock truck reserve as it was written in the tariff for the town. And the same with the 4:30, the last vote said, well, if the town sent the truck over, they can have it come back at 4:30. Other than that, there was no second truck reserve available for anybody.
Mhm.
And what that priority said was, if 2 days prior, the town cancels it, then anybody else that needed a truck could come over and buy that truck reservation.
So could I just make a little comment here? Yes, could you and Alan talk about this?
Yeah, I just
And-
wanna make sure before the new tariff, comes into play that, this gets figured out, that's all.
Well, I think
You
it
know how to
is.
get back and forth.
I think it is figured out, except Alan and you can talk about it
Yeah,
on how it
okay,
works.
yeah.
I think you're just confused on how it all is
I
gonna
guess
work.
so, yeah.
I'm hoping that's what it
It
is.
sounds like you have a solution.
Yeah, I mean, that reservation will be available.
Yeah.
So, okay,
Yeah, thank you.
you're welcome. Is there anything else you wanna?
Yeah.
Okay, so you and Alan can discuss
Yeah, that's fine.
so that he can help you understand it a little bit better, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you, Evan.
Sure.
I know that happened a while ago, I guess.
And Jake going out of business, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, 9A, selectmen's goals. Back to the selectmen's goals. Thanks, Evan.
Thanks, Evan.
Okay.
You too.
Well, Don wanted to have something on the agenda to discuss. I just gave you copies of what we tried to do for the fiscal year 22-23, and many of the things on that list have been done, or definitely, like the amendments to the land use ordinance, the transfer station project. We've got a good cemetery maintenance crew contract rather. The old fire hall is done. I'm not, so I tried to make up something that you could maybe fill in the blanks for this current year, 23-24, but this is something that Don wanted on the agenda to talk about goals.
I think we really need it. Coming into budget season so that budget committee does have an idea what our goals are, and what to start funding. Because I know from my own perspective, I was looking at the police getting a second policeman in here and established with my primary goal. But certainly, roads, another primary goal for me anyway, is addressing our road situation, which isn't getting any better by the day. And I really thought that most everything else, unless it became a dire emergency, would kind of take back seat to those two main objectives.
Well, I think the 2 deputy scenario is already in the budget, was already voted by
Yeah.
the people, so the fact that we haven't ever had 2 deputies is just a matter of circumstance.
Yeah.
So I think the town already did vote to support that. As far as paving, I think that we have been working on that. I mean, as Millie and I have reported, I mean, we had one company that we had several discussions with, and they came out. you know, did measuring, looked at Round the Island Road, and then suddenly they said that they didn't wanna, do any work on Vinalhaven. We have some new leads, we're talking to people. The company that used to be Lane, sold, it's called Northeast, something or other now.
The Spanish company,
We're Spanish?
they're buying the state.
We're starting to have conversations with them, so. I mean, it's just an ongoing issue. We have, almost $1 million to invest in, a road paving. So if there's anything else that you want us to do, I think we're doing it. I think we're moving forward as best we can, trying to find companies that are willing to even come out and do estimates for us.
Hopefully there's a solution coming.
Oh, I don't disagree. It's just, again, I can't force people to deal with us. I can't force people to come to Vinalhaven. So,
Right.
With the downtown project, there may be opportunity there. to,
Yeah,
I
think-
You know, to capitalize on economy of scale, they're already out here,
right.
doing other things, so. That is, as long as we get some bids of people that wanna do that, but
Mhm.
that's the whole process, but yeah.
Yeah, but we got a lot, there was a lot, like you said, we got a lot of these done, but I just want to make sure that we don't lose sight of. In fact, adding a lot more projects and reserves, because we got some big ones, we got the mapping coming in. Well, we certainly, unfortunately, gonna have, bridge work done. Millie's got a huge thing with the fencing and everything else that we have to do
The
with
what, fencing?
the rail, guardrails. Lane's Island, we're gonna be looking at guardrail for sure there. Probably, get all said and done, who knows what's gonna happen to Karen Place Bridge. And, so those are all things that we're looking at. So I'm really looking at trying to figure out how do we minimize our commitments this year until we're comfortable we've addressed the road in particular. I just can't
thinking of
emphasize that
what?
enough right now. They're falling apart and they need attention.
Well, the tax mapping, we've already signed that
Right.
agreement.
No, but I'm saying that's there, that's part of that's
Mhm.
part of what we've committed to.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's
So-
already been paid for.
Hmm?
That's already been paid for.
Has,
Yes,
Well, I haven't,
hasn't been paid for,
It's-
it's been reserved.
yeah,
it's gonna come out of it.
right, the money is there.
Yeah.
And it needs to be done because it hasn't been done since when, 2014?
Correct.
Now, that's,
So,
that's,
that,
that's the,
Mapping.
the
The tax mapping,
reassessment,
right?
town assessment in 2014.
Something
That's
I
the
was,
maps.
right.
But
the
yeah.
tax
Maps are
maps.
2014.
2014, but the assessment before that, wasn't it?
The what?
The 2004, when we did the last
Revaluation.
revaluation, reassessment. Anyway, so those are big issues coming at us. And I was hoping that we could, kind of restrain this budget so we don't take on a lot more projects that require capital in the next year. Focus on what really needs to get done, not wants.
Leslie,
I was thinking, since we are in budget season, and I wish Millie was here tonight to answer my question, but when we talked about the patch for the road and she said it was frozen, what do we need? What kind of storage do we need? What kind of whatever do we need so that it would be available so that,
We're already working on it.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, good.
talked about that a while ago.
Okay, good.
I think that one project that we do have to look at seriously in the next, at least in the next two years, is the fact, of the, flooding issue on North Haven Road. And that's not, I don't see that, maybe it's here, I didn't see it. But, we definitely need to, look at that. and keep on top of that, because that's only gonna get worse.
So we're trying to put together a proposal now to address that.
Yes. Okay, anything else about goals?
Well, those are the big ones. I just want to make sure that, as a group, we didn't have something else in here and we ought to have it out on the table before they finish the budget. That's all.
Well, yeah, we'll be going through. Which ones are we looking at?
Budget workshop is coming up under, item 10, so
Okay,
can we save the budget talk till then?
Yes.
Thanks. I'm gonna move on to, Fox Island Electric letter of support.
oh, I'm sorry, so this, Amy Watson asked if we, could sign this letter of support for a grant that she's applying for.
Which one's this time, Margie? I didn't.
This is the,
This is-
addition,
It should be in your packet.
And this is just to sign a letter of support, nothing else, correct?
Right, yeah, right.
This is their
We've
deal.
been there before.
Yes,
Well,
we've
you
been,
guys have been there before,
we've
haven't
been
you?
there before with the letter of support that was, we weren't supposed to be involved. And so
that's a whole another
Hold on,
ball of
Kim.
wax.
I know.
Let's not go there. That's too
I'm just clarifying that that is all this is.
That
The
would-
pretty color one for you to sign.
Oh, thank you.
We need a motion or?
Excuse me while I
Yeah,
read this, please.
Mhm.
I didn't have time, because it was, our addition to the agenda, if you recall.
Yes, it was.
Interesting. Oh. Okay. Do I have a motion to, to sign this?
just a motion to authorize Pam to sign that letter of support.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
I can't vote on that.
Oh, yeah, oh, Fox out, right. Okay,
Okay,
all set.
all set.
Awesome. Well, I know there's another.
I think is that just a copy before? it was
Just
on the
a
letterhead?
copy.
Yeah. Okey dokey. That. Okay. Budget workshop.
So the budget committee met on March 14th and approved several more of the budgets. We had previously tabled the harbor master budget because the budget committee was asking questions about the boat. And the fire department is taking care of the boat, but Mark and I talked about it and felt that we should just leave the little bit of expense under harbor master for that boat, just for consistency, if for nothing else. But I guess if you have strong feelings about it, we can move it to the fire department, but it didn't really
Minor.
affect, yeah, it's a minor thing, so we left it in the harbor master budget. So they did approve that harbor master budget after me answering that question for them.
I have a little bit of a concern, just it's not clean accounting.
No, it really isn't.
Well,
not
it's
clean. If
it's
the boat-
consistent with our past, I guess, is what Mark and I talked about.
Right.
Leaving the boat costs under the harbor master, consistent with all our past years. That's the conversation that
No,
we
I
had.
understand that, but it's,
Mhm.
but the responsibility for the boat's not consistent with past years. The responsibility is now on the fire department. And the asset it's been very clearly stated that the asset was not needed by the harbor master, but was needed by the fire department.
Mhm.
So clean accounting would put expense costs for maintaining and keeping the boat under the department where it belongs. where it's
Yeah.
being used.
The other thing, it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
I can move it.
That's my opinion.
Whichever, whatever you wanna do. The other thought that we had is, I mean, I don't have any, reason to believe that Jim Knowlton is resigning, but then if the harbor master changed, that was our other conversation, that person might want to, have more control over the harbor boat. So those are the two conversations that we had.
That makes sense.
How much money are we talking?
It's just a couple $1,000s.
Well, it makes sense to leave it there when you think of it that way, because then you'd have to shift it back and forth.
If I was running a business, I would not do it that way.
For a
Seriously, it's
couple-
just, it's
for a
not, it
couple
goes
thousand?
against,
I
it goes
mean-
against accounting practice.
I do not, anyway. Alan,
I thought that boat was budgeted and requested by the fire department. When did it become the harbor master's boat?
It's a
It's
long
always
story.
been in that budget.
For the harbor master?
Yes.
I thought the only reason the harbor master used it was because Bob was the harbor master when they got the boat.
God, a long time back there.
The boat was bought by the fire department.
Like I said, it doesn't really, I
You
can
know-
move it or
It's
not
minor,
move it.
it's a very minor detail.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get too worried about it, just that, it would be cleaner the other way, that's all I'm saying.
Marjorie,
What
I'm
do you
gonna
want me
leave
to-
that up to you.
Oh,
You decide
yes.
what you wanna do. I don't care one way or the other. We know it's there, we know what department it's under, whether it's clean or dirty, it does, I mean,
Leslie-
Marjorie
I
knows.
don't care. It's up to
Marjorie
you,
knows,
Marge.
Marjorie knows what she's doing with that, so I'm gonna assume that if she's comfortable, that's good. If you guys really wanted to change it, that's up to you. I don't care.
It makes no difference to me either.
I mean, we know,
It's immaterial, the
It's
$2,000.
immaterial,
Exactly.
it's not a material thing.
Okay.
It's just
I mean, if
procedural.
we're talking thousands and thousands of
If
dollars,
somebody decides to put a new motor on it, then we got something else to talk about.
well, then we know that we'll have to pay for a new motor.
Marge doesn't want it.
Yeah,
So-
so then would it come out of the fire department reserve?
Let's not go there.
Oh, God.
Okay, it's getting late anyway.
Yeah, it is.
You guys are putting way too much thought
Yeah,
into
my
that.
brain is too fried for this.
Okay, Marjorie, keep
Under
going.
town property, might notice that let's see, the cost of streetlights is higher because, we needed some grant matching funds for that LED
Mhm.
project.
Mhm.
Let's see. Those are I didn't really have that many notes other than under the, streetlights. Does anybody have any questions about the town property?
I mean, has there been an inventory of where they actually are and if they're all needed?
That's part
That's
of the
part-
process.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Cause I think they're still working, there's one up to Mike Clough's because he was in Fox Line Electric.
Yeah.
So why are we paying for a street light where Mike Clough doesn't live there anymore?
I'm sure when they do the
They're doing, yeah.
They're doing the survey.
inventory, they'll
Assessment.
figure that out. I think it would be nice if we can keep people from shooting them out.
Good luck with that.
Shooting signs or anything.
Well, these are gonna be
Margie,
very expensive LEDs
Yep.
and people don't like them in front of their homes because it keeps them up at night or whatever. I think that will address.
They
this
should just
would-
tell us right up
Right.
front.
Right.
Yeah. But you're putting it in the budget, I think that's fine, hopefully with the LEDs, as soon as they're in, the offset savings will more than make up.
Hopefully.
So that's the goal.
That's the goal,
Hopefully.
so I wouldn't worry about that one at all.
There was a note in here about the disagreement on fire chief's salary increase.
Yeah, the budget committee, there were 3 people there and 2 people didn't agree with the increase. They thought we should just stay with the 3.2% cost of living. But, we had already discussed wages at our last, board meeting.
Right.
Yes.
Can I just say something? I was the person that was missing and I would have supported the increase. So.
Thank you, Eric.
But, to go back to I'm sorry, did anybody have any questions about the town property categories?
No.
Okay. I'm sorry then, let's see. The law enforcement, they tabled because they had, more questions about the, contract that we're trying to negotiate now. And then the fire department, as Tom mentioned, they were fine with everything. The public safety building, we did lower the service fees line. That's the public safety building, the fire station building, just based on past expenditures.
What are the service fees exactly?
Service fees are. Where are we on
Fire department.
public safety
Public
building?
safety, sorry.
Here. So those are a little bit in there for fire extinguisher inspection. There's about $800 for Seacoast security, furnace cleaning. There's a garage door. What's PM? Garage door.
Preventive maintenance.
Okay. And then any other contracted services like plumbers, electricians. The average for the last 4 years was about 3,100, so we reduced it to 3,200. You can see in the, the past expenditures, it never really rose above 2,800, so. I mean, some of that, of course, is just contingency. You never know what's going to,
Right.
in terms of those kinds of fees.
Garage door not quite open when somebody goes through it.
That is I think that's an annual
Yeah.
fee
Yeah.
that we know about,
Yeah.
and as is the Seacoast security and the annual furnace cleaning.
Yeah.
But we do have 1,300 in there.
Just in case.
For the just in case, and that still gives us the 3,200.
Yeah.
So that was, adjusted, which I thought was reasonable. So, yeah, that public safety building, the budget's only up by about $500. Mostly because of utilities, anticipated utility costs. And then insurance kind of is what it is. It's, our liability, workers' comp, unemployment. But, oh, it's actually down. So what's down? Let me see. Oh, the workers' comp.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have a really good rating. We haven't had any cases for a long time.
You must get a
No.
refund, right?
Yeah.
Just jinx that.
Yeah.
Any questions
Sorry, that was
about
me, I
those
kicked you.
budgets? or-
No, you didn't. Oh, yes, you did.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
With my big boot. Do you wanna, approve those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, harbor master, town property, fire department, public safety building, and insurance?
Well,
Yes.
fire department, we stand by our
Yeah,
discussion.
yeah,
No, I'm all set to accept.
Yeah.
the- And I trust Eric. Been on the budget committee for a long time.
Yes.
Do you want a motion or just a consensus? Does it need to be?
it's like 10 cents.
Okay, yep, approve it.
Yep.
Generally,
Approved, I should say, okay. Marjorie, Report of town manager.
As Don mentioned, I have been asked to try to work on permitting for the project that he came up with. And I do need additional information that, should I go to Millie for things like latitude,
Yeah.
longitude and
Yeah.
that kind of thing? Okay. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I don't. No, Tom?
I'll bug her when I see her if I have questions.
That was wistful,
What?
wistful little laugh.
What? I'm sorry.
Okay, one more question, Alan.
I have a totally off the wall question, nothing to do with your budget stuff. When do the committees submit their little pieces of the town for?
Oh, why did,
Reminder, Pam.
I know, like
Um,
right now.
Or is it already gone?
No, I'm putting it together now, so like maybe in the next couple weeks, mid-April maybe,
Okay.
would be good.
Did we send notices?
I have, yeah, I've
Yeah.
started, I didn't realize Alan would like to
I'm
be
on
in
the,
it.
well, I'm on the Ferry Advisory Board now, so
Yes,
I thought maybe.
Yeah, that'd
Yeah.
be great.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, 12, report of members. Thank you, none? Oh,
Just a quick question, did we find out who owns the backhoe down behind the?
Yes.
Mike Bunker.
It broke down at the church and instead of leaving it in the church parking lot, he put it.
We had a good laugh about that.
That's
yeah, that
funny.
is fun.
And there's a couple of cars down there that were up by the church. so-
Yeah, I need to work on abandoned vehicle titles,
Gotcha, yeah.
because, you know,
We can't
you
get rid of
even
them without,
junk
without a
them.
cut, without a.
Yeah, and
title.
I
Done the
keep,
title.
we have the forms at the office, we've done it before, and I just, maybe, I'm gonna make a note, because, yeah.
Just give them the mic.
And there's 3 or 4 trailers down there and,
That's
There's 3 or
Harbor
4
Master.
trailers
yeah,
again?
and a lobster tank
Dragged up
and.
from the town, though. What'd you
Yeah,
say?
that's Harbor Master, right?
Yeah, he brought them up, yeah.
That's where he puts his stuff.
After budget season, Marjorie contended these little,
I walked by it with a dog and I'm like,
I know.
yeah,
Yeah,
so I'm probably not the only one, so I guess probably it's better me than others. Cause
I mean,
I'm
at
just
some
asking.
point, we're gonna have to get rid of all that stuff, but, you know, honestly, one person said, well, never mind, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And
Let's not drag it out any longer than necessary. I already did, and I'm sorry.
No, you're
I-
fine. No, you're absolutely fine.
I have just one
You have
more
one.
then.
Oh, sure.
Dawn,
Just one
make it
more,
quick.
just one more. Parking out here. We have problems with parking on a lot of days out here now because of events here upstairs.
Whether it's-
What is this guy taking up all of our parking space on this side? That's not his land, is it?
No.
How do we get him out of there?
I could ask him to, I mean, before Jameis, his parents always parked there, but the trailer is new. Haven't had that there.
I mean, we need the parking. We don't need to provide parking for someone, a resident.
Well, if the selectmen wanna, vote on it, I can write a letter to him, tell him he can't park there
I
anymore.
motion to make a letter to get him out of there.
Trash demo. Yeah. And that'll take that. Oh, same time.
Yeah.
That's a sticky subject.
We could just,
I was gonna park behind him for a while.
maybe we could just gently say, maybe we could push this back a little bit, because it is on town property. And be good neighbors rather than be,
I think a personal conversation would be the
Yeah.
way.
Oh, yeah, that's what, Margie's been having that thought, and nothing's happened, right? You've talked to him about this.
I don't know.
No, I talked to him about one of the trailers down at, in back of the,
one of those says.
Down at the garage.
Yeah.
Well, we don't need to do it now, but sometime it just doesn't seem right.
Just a casual conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
If
think
it's
that
on-
would be,
It's on town
I
property.
think that's more appropriate.
You know,
yeah. No, I don't disagree, but I just think it should be done.
Motion to adjourn.
Does anybody else have anything to say? Okay, good. Threw away the key, Tom. Motion to adjourn,
Second.
Third,
all in favor? Thanks, guys.
pen and
Thanks for
ball.
letting me speak and I apologize for being out of